Warpugs. Every single person has a character that they wanted to play first. Everyone has had one of those. And for me, I remember back when I was playing the second edition, the whole second edition thing, I wanted to play a Ranger. That's the first champion I ever sat there and looked at and really wanted to play, mostly because I was playing World of Warcraft at the time. Not World of Warcraft, sorry. This is way before World of Warcraft. I was playing Warcraft 2 at the time. And I liked the look of the Rangers. I liked all the other kind of stuff. But, it just wasn't in the cards. It just wasn't in the cards that time. I still remember the first time I ever really played a Ranger. And it was one of the first classes that absolutely caught my eye. I was a big fan, because back then you got dual wielding and ambidextrous fighting. Back then human was so garbage to play. There was no real point to playing a human whatsoever. There was no point to playing a human in second edition whatsoever. But the best thing for me was when I was sitting down. I remember sitting down with my friend Jason, and we were sitting there. He was explaining things to me. What does what? You know, this does this. This does this. And I remember a prestige class that I really, really wanted to try out. In order to try it, I had to play the Ranger. Well, what's the Ranger? I just like the sound of it, actually. And it was the Order of the Bow Initiate. And I really wanted to play a Ranger. And there was so much, like, it was a whole thing. We were getting ready to start up a new camp. Like, it's funny because the Ranger, and then the next one is the Rogue. And the Rogue was my first character I ever played in D&D. And I have a special soft spot in my heart for Dragonlance, the setting. I have a special soft spot in my heart for the War of the Lance because it was my first ever D&D game, actual D&D game, where I played a character, and it wasn't a Ranger, but it was a Rogue. We'll be getting to that next time. But the reason I went with that over that is because they said, you know, we need a Rogue. And that's the only time those words have ever been said to me since then. Normally, we need a fighter. We need a tank. I don't get to have fun anymore, Warpugs. It's the way life goes sometimes. But this was the first character I absolutely wanted 100% to play. I thought it was awesome. And when I finally did get to play a Ranger, it was a blast. But that wasn't for another 3 years. Warpugs, we're going to jump right into this. This is JoJo's. You guys can tell where my head's at. JoCat's Guide to 5th Edition. This is the Ranger. Now, I know a lot of things have changed with this class over the years. Massively since 2nd Edition when I first saw it. Let's get into it.
Just play a fighter with a bow, it's way better. Alright, fine, I'll talk about the class. Ranger is the other of the bisexual style of classes, where it likes fighter, but it also likes druid, and flips between the two depending on which one looks cuter at the moment. Hell, it even steals a few things from rogue because it's so indecisive. And despite the name Ranger, you're not actually restricted to use any sort of ranged weapon in order to be effective. As far as combat goes, you get the usual fighter, but not really.
Oh, there we go. Starting stuff. A bunch of weapons you won't use. Hippie stuff. I don't know. Climbing probably. Ammo, more ammo, useless melee weapon.
Fighter set of features. Fighting style, all weapons, extra attack, spell casting, D10, hit die, hey Macarena. From rogues, it steals the ability to channel your inner chameleon and blend into the environment. Except instead of hiding in the shadows and watching where you step, it's more like putting on makeup, so you need to take some time, have a good look in the mirror, maybe look up some tutorials while you're at it, then start over when you realize you were using the wrong shade of foundation. From druid, it steals some of that being one with nature flavor it's got going on, and a whole lot of spells, but not without a few exclusive spells of its own. Like having a target explode a bunch of thorns when hit with a ranged attack, plant arrows in the ground and turn them into proximity-based fireworks, except the gunpowder is magic and the lights are bits of enemy brains, and single-handedly the objectively best ranger spell, Swift Quiver. Not for the unlimited ammo, that's dumb, nobody keeps track of their arrows anyway, but because it turns your ranged weapon into a rapid-fire machine gun.
But Joseph, you said you don't need to use a ranged weapon to be effective as a ranger. Those all sound like ranged weapon exclusive spells.
That may be true, however... Anyway, when it comes to actual unique ranger features, you can use the power of racism to decide what kind of creatures you're going to perform extra potent hate crimes on, and preferred terrain, where you can pick your favorite environment, and after trotting around picking flowers or litter, depending on what it is, you can become a fantasy Bear Grylls, which is basically real-life Bear Grylls, except with a kobold crew filming you instead. And if you worry
Preferred enemy goblins is my first one.
that sounds too situational, and that if you picked a forest terrain and the entire campaign took place in the snowy mountains would mean the feature would be more useless than a football player who got tapped on the shoulder and started clutching their knees crying in the fetal position, don't worry, you're right, and it is. What isn't situational is just about everything else involving the environment. You can sense what kids are trespassing on your lawn and then not have to worry about the weeds that might otherwise slow you down from catching them and giving them a good weapon! When it comes to flavors of the no really trust us, you can totally use melee and still be a useful class. You have Pokemon Trainer with a gun, like rogues but even dodgier, literally a monster hunter, thinking with portals, and pew pew! Pew pew pew! Alright, let's address the beholder in the room. The vanilla incarnation of the ranger has a reputation of being less useful when compared to the other classes due to questionable abilities and how they function. That's not to say the class can't be useful or powerful in the right circumstances, but some consider the ranger's situational and sometimes underpowered features to leave something to be desired. However, there's nothing wrong about talking to your DM about changing how certain skills work, if that happens to be the case, so that you can have more fun at your role-playing table. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about how many numbers you can do to the bad guys, but whether or not you can shoot spikes out of the ground while firing bolts from your heavy crossbow atop a feathered velociraptor. And now you know how to play Ranger. You're welcome.
This sounds oddly specific. This sounds incredibly I swear to God, I love that word, but I can't say it. Specific. This sounds like he has a lot of personal experience with this. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I am saying it's awesome. I think oh God. One of the funnest moments I've ever had with a ranger was when I was DMing a game and somebody started rolling nat 20s on a zombie bear that was on fire. They rode it zombie bear on fire under an enlargement spell. So basically a rampaging bear the size of a small house that proceeded to trample an army. It was good stuff. Fun was had by all. And I actually put on AC/DC for it because I was just like, okay, how many 20s did you just roll in a row? This is happening now. And I just had fun with it. It ruined an entire segment of the game that I had going on, but I had fun with it. That's the best part about things. Guys, when I played the Ranger was a extremely good alternative to fighter. If you wanted to do sword and border two-handed, you went fighter. If you wanted to fight with two weapons, you went ranger. That's just the way it went back in 2nd edition. That's just the way it went. And I remember looking over all these stat sheets and all this kind of stuff, and sadly enough, my ranger never got over level 5. The campaign ended before he got right when he hit level 5, the campaign ended. We never went back to that setting, that time period, or those characters, which I was always a little bit, sad about, because that's one of my only characters just ever really, you just remember that first character that you played. Sylvan SD Elf. Well, not first character, but you guys know what I mean. The whole thing about it was it was a blast. It was an absolute blast when I did get to play a ranger. And I did play it in 2nd edition. I never played a ranger in 3.0, 3.5, Pathfinder, any other thing. But it was the one character, the one class that really got my attention and made me want to play D&D. Guys, JoCat, what can you do? I heard I don't know why he got driven off of YouTube from everything I've heard, but you wish the guy would come back. I don't know why, but I would love to see more stuff like this from him. And I hope it wasn't over something bad on his end. I'm just saying. Warpugs, Check the links in the description down below for JoCat. Check mine as well. Discord, memberships, all that jazz. Thank you for being here with me, and I will catch you guys next time.